Over the last few years, Vancouver developers are really struggling. High construction costs as well as high interest rates are making carrying costs very expensive. On top of that, there isn't too much demand for resale units. The pre-sale industry at the moment is very sluggish. The sliver of hope that Vancouver developers have had were purpose-built rental units because they're not as dependent on the market conditions, and the projections for them, the profit margins for them are very long-term. On top of that, the city of Vancouver, as well as the province and federal government, were strongly encouraging developers to focus on purpose-built rental developments. In a lot of cases, it was easier to obtain permits to build such developments. In other cases, you were required to include some purpose-built rental units in your for sale buildings. However, unfortunately for developers and fortunately for a lot of tenants in Vancouver, the rental market has been very sluggish and in fact has been on the decline. If you look at the trends, it looks like the rental market keeps on going down in terms of the price per square foot as well as the current rental rates, and it seems like it will continue to be on a downward trend. There are a few reasons why this is happening. Number one, the lack of international students. Federal government has placed a cap on how many international students Canada will be accepting, and now we're feeling a lot of the results from this ban. Just to give you an example, in 2024, we welcomed 485,000 international students. That number for 2025 is lower, 437,000. And to give you an idea, the difference that we are experiencing in 2023, we saw 528,000 international students, and in 2022, 551,000. So that's a very significant drop in the total number of international students. Vancouver is especially sensitive to this change in international student numbers because it's one of the bigger cities in Canada. We also have a lot of international schools that cater to these international students, which means the drop in international student numbers really affects our rental market. But this lack of international students is only one of the factors behind the drop in rental rates. The other factor is the fact that the city of Vancouver essentially banned short-term rentals. Services like Airbnb are pretty much non-operational in Vancouver and in BC in general because the requirements to operate such business are so slim that pretty much majority of apartments that used to be on the Airbnb are now rented out for the long-term perspective, which of course brought a lot more inventory to the rental market supply. The last big reason why the rents keep on dropping is this incentive for the developers itself. The thing that developers were counting on is the thing that is sort of killing them right now. So because so many different developers were encouraged to build more rental purpose buildings, we are seeing more of these type of buildings come to the market, which means there is a much larger supply of these rental units. Combine that with the lack of international students, and we are in for rental rates to be dropping. This is actually pretty good news for a lot of people living in Vancouver, for a lot of tenants, because that's exactly what we were trying to achieve. However, for developers, it is absolutely brutal because the way they plan out these developments, they sort of plan how much they can rent out each unit for based on price per square foot. I think the calculation was somewhere around $7 per square foot is what they were hoping to get. Now they're getting under $6 per square foot. That's a pretty big difference. And on top of that, there's going to be a massive increase in the inventory later this year and all the way through to 2026 from Squamish-based developer called Senakw. They are introducing 11 towers and roughly bringing 1,400 new rental units to the market. When such a large number of rental units is introduced, they have to rent them out. So there will be quite a few different incentives in order to fill in these vacant units, because we can all imagine and understand the situation. They will have roughly 40 to 100 different vacant units come to the market every month. And of course, a big majority of these units has to be rented out. We are going to see a lot of incentives In fact, there are already quite a few incentives coming from developers as well as other large landlords. We see things like 14 months or 13-month rent for the price of 12 months, essentially giving you 1 or 2 months free. A lot of landlords, a lot of new developments are not putting any restrictions on pets. That used to be a huge hurdle for tenants in BC. I remember back in the day, you had to offer extra just to have the pet in the unit. I used to have to do that because of my dog. And I'm not only talking about the extra deposit, I'm also talking about extra rent per month because so few landlords were allowing you to have a pet in the unit. Nowadays, having a pet in the unit is sort of a given, which again is a good thing. I'm not trying to frame this video as a bad sort of thing that's happening. It is good for a lot of people, for a lot of tenants, but at the same time, it is bad for the developers. However, this story is not going to continue forever. A lot of experts are predicting what's happening right now is sort of a temporary reset, a bit of a pause, because this sort of slowdown in the rental market as well as slowdown in the resale market is forcing a lot of developers to either delay or cancel their projects. In fact, the latest statistics show that the housing starts are way low in March and February of this year, which means project that into the future, we will see a shortage of new developments. So the market will balance itself out in the future. It always does. But at the moment, the developers will continue to struggle as more units become available for rent, and tenants are likely to enjoy better rental conditions, better rental terms, and probably lower rates. And I'll keep you updated about all things real estate in the future on this YouTube channel. Please subscribe so you don't miss those videos when they do come out. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. It helps the channel quite a bit. And if you're in the market to start looking at real estate, you just don't know where to start, you don't understand how the process works, I have an absolutely free buyer's guide linked in the description below. You don't need to sign up for anything. It's not a sales pitch. It's just a tool to help you understand how the process works and help you prepare to get started in the future. So once again, the link to that will be in the description below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.